Welcome to episode 2 of Tool Use. Tool Use is a weekly conversation where we discuss helpful AI tools by giving you real examples that we put together so you can use it today and start leveraging AI to automate parts of your life. Today, we're going to be discussing extracting data from video. There's a lot of good information locked up in videos, and we'll show you some ways for how you can extract it and use it for your own benefit. I'm Mike Bird with the pleasure of talking to Ty Fierro. Ty, how you doing today, buddy?
I'm doing great, man. I cooked this week on my demo, so I'm excited to show it off, but I'll be patient.
Love it. Man, so this week I actually had the moment where someone mentioned a new AI model that dropped, and I had zero response at all, like no neural activation. It's been a while since I've been like, oh, I'd rather spend my time building model-agnostic tools than like testing out the latest and greatest. But it actually crossed the threshold where I'm just like, 3.5? I don't know. I'll check it out in a couple of weeks when people actually like confirm it's good.
There's new models dropping like every day, so it's kind of hard to keep up with, especially these local models. For me, it's hard to really know how much better one is because I don't have a whole like benchmarking suite. Like I'm not going to run 8 different models on the same thing, so I kind of just have to take benchmarks at face value. But yeah, I'll try Llama 3 8B versus like a Mistral 7B, and I'm like, yeah, they seem pretty equivalent. So I don't really know which. It's kind of like this like classic AI engineers really just go off of vibes. It's like, was the vibe of the output rather than actually making like evals to check to see if it's actually better. It's like, oh yeah, that was a good response. I'm gonna keep using this model.
Yeah, I think we should probably do some episode where we actually go on evals because yeah, those benchmarks are trash, but I also don't have my own set. So, something for the future to think about.
It's actually a great idea. Local model evals to be able to, new model drops, download it off LM Studio or Ollama and just run it through the eval set and just see what it, like own personal eval set. That's actually really interesting. We should do that because we could have all sorts of interesting little like prompts that are useful to yourself. Like it's actually a cool idea to benchmark a model on things that are valuable to you and your business.
Absolutely. Yeah, because a lot of the benchmarks will touch on such obscure things that have no impact on daily life. But you can actually say, like, for example, I want a Power Open Interpreter to do this task. Having that in an automated fashion so you can just run models through it and actually see what works best for your specific use case. And especially, like, working in DSPy, start doing different prompts. Like, I think there's something really cool we could do with that.
Yeah, that's really cool. I could scrape Twitter for every time there's a LLM announcement and then just like kick off a project automatically and then get an email. Hey, this new model dropped, but it's not worth your time. Don't try it.
Exactly. Oh, love it. But let's save that for another one.
Okay.
Shall we get into video data extraction?
Let's do it.
So I put together a little script that will take in a video and it will transcribe and diarize it. For those not familiar, diarizing is when you actually separate the speakers. So for this example, I actually did the last episode. So I transcribed it, and you can see here it is Mike Bird, actually spelled with an I, and Ty Fierro with one R. But all it does is it'll separate the timestamp from when the phrase is mentioned and then associate with the speaker. So you can see there's speaker 00 and speaker 01. Now, on top of the input file and where you want to output to, it takes a Hugging Face token. Now, the reason it does this is because it downloads a model from PyEndNote Audio. And this is really cool. So you can actually just go on Hugging Face and find these models that are highly specialized for the task. So this one is Speaker Diarization 3.1. And with their Hugging Face token, it makes a ping out to Hugging Face. And then you have to, for some models, they're gated. You have to ask for permission. Now this one, all they wanted was your workplace or university and the website for it, just so they can get an idea of who's using the model. So if you haven't checked out Hugging Face, it's like the GitHub for AI. It's phenomenal. And then along with the output of the diarized transcription, I was like, okay, that's cool. Now that we have it in Markdown format, what can we do with it? So I created a video to data pipeline. And what this will do is it takes in your video file as the input and then goes through a series of steps. So the first step is the transcription diarization, which outputs what you see here. But then it'll actually say, okay, quick, let's rename the speakers. So you can see I just ran it here. What it'll do is it'll ask you to review the document. You can see here. So I said the opening. So we know that 00 is Mike. And then speaker 1 is Ty. And then what it'll do is it'll generate the subtitles in an SRT file, which will be ideal for uploading to YouTube or anything. And the diarization is now labeled with Mike and Ty. Why I think this is super useful is further down in the pipeline. Because now we have two good assets. We have diarized transcript and we have the SRT file that we can upload. but we want to use AI to process. We want to get some real good artifacts out of this. So now that we've associated the line with the name, we can actually pass it into processing the AI. So we can actually take the transcript and turn it into content. So I've made a few little scripts where it'll analyze the content. You see, this is just basic, provide a summary, get the key points, topics, and themes. But you can also go into a summarization where it condenses it and makes it a lot more consumable. So then you don't have to worry about passing the entire contents into other things. I have an idea expander, which actually does the opposite. So if you take a small segment of what you want to do, it'll use EXA, which is something we mentioned in the previous episode, to actually go and get up-to-date information on it. Or you can use a metadata generator, where if you want to, say, get the various titles you might want to use, a description, tweets, hashtags, all of the different things, all from the transcript. And finally, I introduced a content formatter, where you actually pass in the style you want, and then it'll format the content in a certain way, preserving the original meaning of information. So what this is really cool for is if you say you make a video, tool use, episode 2, people love it, but you want to put it into a newsletter, you can actually format the transcript to be in a structure that's appropriate for a segment of a newsletter. So you can take all your videos, feed it through this pipeline, and then you'll get things spit out. So here we see newsletter content. You get the pioneering advancement, AI tooling, revolution, industries, and beyond. Or maybe you want a LinkedIn post where, it's a little more artificial sounding and a little salesy. You want a tweet thread, YouTube description. Here's the metadata I was mentioning. So you get different title options. So all of a sudden, we took the video that we spent, however much time making, and instead of repeating that amount of time, making all the assets to support it, you can feed it through this script and have AI get you 90% of the way there. Similar to what I've said many times before, this is not going to be your final product. You never want to trust LLM output as like the production ready final draft, but it gets you 90% of the way there. And the name of the game is automating as much as possible to alleviate the time you have to spend from the blank page problem to just like sussing out your ideas or doing some research. Maybe you want to use a research assistant like we covered in the last chat. But this will get you the vast majority of the way there, so you can spend more time actually learning, actually creating content or building products that you want to build, and less time with the peripheral fluff. So I think this pipeline has been very helpful already. I can't wait to run this episode through it so we can see what it generates. And then, hey, maybe the YouTube description is going to be completely from this with a little bit of tweaking to make sure we get our socials in there. But yeah, pretty proud of this one. I'm going to put this up on GitHub in my AI toolkit so you can take this. It does use faster whisper. I use model large V2, which is the largest one. I wanted accuracy. Depending on the power of your machine, you might want to upgrade or downgrade it. Get yourself a Hugging Face token. And when you go through the script, it's probably going to ask you to go to Hugging Face to request permission for those gated models. Definitely recommend you do it and explore Hugging Face. There's a lot of cool stuff on there. When I first went on Hugging Face, it was almost a little intimidating, just like going in blind. But if you spend a bit of time exploring the spaces, seeing the models that people put up, it's incredible. It's the cutting edge. So that's my demo.
Wow, that's incredible, man. That's like super useful. That's something that we're actually going to dog food ourselves. Side note, I don't know where that term comes from, dog food, but we're going to use it ourselves and make all sorts of cool LinkedIn posts and tweets. You really took a lot of the annoying parts out of that whole process. And it only took 2 episodes for Hugging Face to come in, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah, exactly. Get to it quick. But yeah, I'm trying to also think of different use cases, because if people download videos or say they record meetings, you can feed it through this pipeline as well. And you can even take this pipeline and tweak it to your own use case. So I really like the idea of just like building these components so people can put it together and see what we're able to build to just, allow us to like focus on the creative aspect of it, the building aspect, and not of the, filling the gap.
What's crazy is like you built this whole pipeline here, and behind a single paywall and a really pretty AI looking landing page, like that is a full company you built, and you probably built that in like a day.
Yeah, this one I spent a little bit more time on this one than the other ones, but that's because every time I kept thinking of a new idea, I'd be like, oh, we can use AI to generate this from the transcript. I just like made a new script. The pipeline itself was very quick, but yeah, the transcription was just kind of debugging a little bit what worked on my machine versus like a time expenditure. Like this one, it does take a while. I had to run the transcription before we started recording just to make sure it was ready in time. But if you want something quick and speedy, Whisper's got a bunch of different models. So you don't need to spend too much time on it, especially if you go on my GitHub and get this, you get a good starting point. And then You're 90% of the way there.
Wow, that's. I mean, I thought I was gonna win this week. It might be a photo finish here.
Oh, it's gonna be a close one. What's your demo for this week?
All right, well, for my demo this week, I kind of like had this realization last week that there's so many good YouTube videos out there, and I'll never get to all of them. And just to scroll on the For You like homepage, just sucking down what Google's algorithm gives me. Like, there's so much stuff I want to watch. There's so many good takeaways from different videos, and I'll never, ever get to all of them. And so I've been actually thinking of building this for a little bit, and here I am. I just built it. I worked with... Actually, I'm not going to say how I built it yet. I'm just going to show you. Show, don't tell. All right, so if I'm on YouTube, I see a cool video from Fireship, like my favorite channel. I can add this to a playlist. I'm going to call this Notes. And then I added that to my Notes playlist. I have a couple other ones in here, but I'll spare you from going through all of that. I made a simple script that is going to use the YouTube API to actually, let's see here. So I'm going to hit this. It's going to use the YouTube API. It's going to find the playlist. It's going to process each video. So here's a video from Lex Friedman I want to watch from Peter Levels. It's going to save a transcript from using a Python package to get the transcript. And then it's going to delete it from the playlist. It's going to keep doing that for every single one. And the idea of removing it is it's kind of like I can just keep adding things to a playlist, and then I can just process them all. And then once they've processed, then I don't have to, worry about which ones I've already run. So I made the transcript files, and then it's going to process each one of them. So here's the title. I have a DSPy in here to generate a summary prompt for each video, so that the summary is very specific, or the prompt for the summary is as specific to the video as possible. So you can see, like, this one says create a detailed, engaging summary for become excellent, yada yada yada. Explain the concept of unreasonable hospitality and all these types of really interesting things. So this is going to be a way better summary than if you just said summarize this video and provide the key points. So that's why I love DSPy. It makes it so much more focus. But here you go. So now we get the summary. This is kind of just the first little bit. It's going to make some key takeaways. It's going to make a TLDR. It's going to write the markdown file, and it's going to be processed. Now it's going to do this for every single video. And okay, well, some error here for that last one, but anyway, that's fine. And over here, I actually have it just saving to Obsidian. So boom, here's that Fireship video. I have this front matter just to have some data about it, but we'll scroll past that. So this is actually what it should look like. We get the channel, we get the video name, or when it's published. Here's the link to the video with the actual thumbnail. You get a TLDR. So this is just kind of like the super top level, what this video is about. Highlights 5 new AI tools. Why should someone care? For revolutionizing content creation, sure. And then there's like in a nutshell, and then we have like the most useful takeaway. Started using AI tools today, revolution your content creation. Yeah, that's great. But I had all key takeaways, and then I just kind of wanted the one good one instead of having just like a giant list like here. But here's all the different interesting ones, right? There's Luma Lab, Stable Diffusion 3, Soundful, Sora. Now I know all the 5 different tools. And then there's an actual summary of everything where it explains each different part and then goes into it. Then I provide the raw transcript. But you can see this is a wall of text. I'm never going to read through this transcript versus actually watching the YouTube video. This is so hard to digest compared to something like this. And it probably did it for all of these. And it did. So I guess the one that broke, but whatever, that's fine. These all worked. And behind the scenes, actually, that's an unhinged title there. But behind the scenes, this is using Gemini 1.5 Flash. And the reason why I use that model instead of GPT or Anthropic or a local model is because Gemini gives you 1.5 million tokens a day for free on Gemini, which is unheard of. Like, that's insane. And so I can run this thing every single morning and actually be completely free. Like, I don't have to pay a dime for the inference, which I think is insane. I do want to add like a token counter in here so I can make sure that it's less than 1.5 million tokens per day, but pretty wild. So I built this so that I can add videos manually and watch or get key takeaways from the videos that I actually add. But I added another thing in here that uses Exa again, shout out from last week. And so we do this discover. So yeah, dash discover, here's videos on how to ship AI apps to production. Let's include the word AI, exclude those dumb top 10 YouTube videos, and let's have 7 of them. We can hit that, and it's gonna go out and discover these. It's gonna find these videos. Here we go. So Exa actually made some things. It actually has the video IDs. It only looks for YouTube videos, which is pretty cool. You can set that up with Exa. Again, shout out Exa. I'm super fan of what they're doing there. Added all of these. Okay, well, something here on that one broke, but that's okay. We got 6 out of the 7. And then it's going to process all of these. Again, it's going to add them to that playlist, and it's going to remove them from the playlist after it processes. And then, there we go. Process all the transcript JSON files. And then it's processing all of this. It's actually writing Markdown. And yeah, look, you see them pop in here. So learn to containerize algorithms to deploy AWS with App Runner. Yeah, that's great. I don't want to watch this whole video. I'm sure it's super long and kind of boring. And here's all the useful takeaways. Learn practical examples. Use greedy algorithms. I mean, I would have never watched this video had I not done something like this. So, yeah, 5 steps for deploying machine learning models to production. And this could be for anything, right? Like I had it doing startup advice yesterday, so I can learn more about startups and whatever else. But it can just generate as many videos as you want, process them, and make really easy to use Markdown files. And something that I think would be pretty cool in the future, I haven't done yet, but it would be great to have a different pipeline that runs through each one of these Markdown files, decides what's actually useful out of it, and just provides a single Markdown file of the best 10 topics or best 10 videos from the day, and then sends you an email every morning. So you would set something like, I'm really interested in learning more about AI and coding. And then every day it would go find another 10 videos on YouTube that are around that topic, go through this pipeline, make all the Markdown files, save them so you can go read them if you really want them. But then it would just summarize those and make a single email to send you every morning at 9 a.m. So you can, keep learning from this vast world of YouTube knowledge every single day. So I haven't set that up yet, but I'd love to. It'd be pretty fun. Okay, I did one more thing that's kind of fun and also kind of rough. I did this roast.py. Now we have a YouTube channel. For tool use, I wrote a script. What it's going to do is going to take the channel ID of ours. It's going to get the latest video from our channel. It's going to do the same process, except instead of making like key takeaways and other things like that, it's just going to grill us on our last video, provide constructive criticism on how we can improve, and then also just for fun, like Comedy Central style roast on the two of us. And actually, I don't know, I went through yesterday, it kind of hurt my feelings, but it's okay. Let's see what it does today. Okay, so it found the video, it's processing it, saved the transcript, it's processing it, see it's adding constructive feedback. Yeah, perfect. And then, okay, I can tell this is already going to be good here. All right, let's go find synthetic data in here. All right, nice. So it has the title, we have the number of views, the likes, and the comments. I also passed this into it too, so it understands how many views that these got. Also passed it into the roast too, so it can roast us for that. Let's see here. Okay, we got the title. Let's see here, constructive. Yeah, okay. The prompt here too is like, you're an expert podcaster and expert content creator, and you're trying to give advice to like up and coming podcasters. And so it takes that kind of angle of like, okay, well, I'm really good at what I do, and here's what you should do better. And I think it would just give better advice that way. But it kind of goes through all this. Yeah, it's got a clear structure, engaging conversation, practical demos. I'm like, ooh, that's nice. And then it gives areas for improvement. Sure, the intro could be more concise, maybe. Sure, the pace is the episode's quite long. I don't know how it knows the audio quality is generally good, because it's just a transcript, so that's a little bit of a hallucination there. Thanks, Gemini. But it gives you suggestions like YouTube SEO, so optimizing titles, whatever else, content depth. But yeah, and so it actually gives you actual advice for each episode we make. So great foundation, yeah, actually useful. That's all they should be. But then I just wanted to have some fun, and it made a roast. These two aspire. Okay, so now here's the roast, Comedy Central style. I made a really savage prompt for this, and it delivered. So, yeah, okay. So they really go into this. Sounds like a recipe for boredom. Judging by their view count, I'm not alone. It's like, oof, man. Okay, really getting here. Ty's got a point about ethical dilemmas, but his delivery is about as exciting as watching paint dry. Dang, Gemini. So, he's like a monotone voiceover in a nature documentary, but instead of explaining mating rituals of rare birds, he's explaining the complexities of scraping the internet. Dang, man, yeah, it hurts a little bit, but anyway, it's kind of fun. And so, yeah, it roasts Mike too, and then there's like, it goes over the demos and the news, and it's actually pretty kind of complete. And then these guys are like a pair of hamsters running on a wheel. They're busy, they're moving, but they're not really going anywhere. I'm like, oh man, this is tough. It's episode 2, man. Cut me some slack. But anyway, so that's the useful part of this is up here, so we can actually see how we can improve with actionable advice and not just hurt our feelings. But I had to add this in here. It sounded fun, so there it is. And I think that's my whole demo. We can add things to a YouTube channel, pull all the or YouTube playlists, get all the videos from the playlist, make the summaries, also roast our latest one, and also search for new episodes. So I think there's some more work to do on this. I'd love to get it automated and set it up on cron job so it runs every morning and uses all 1.5 million of my tokens and just generates a ton of content. But for now, this will have to do.
Gemini coming in hot. Watching paint dry, whatever. But that's super cool, man. I really love the idea of taking like all the knowledge of YouTube and being able to like extract and do different things. I don't know if it's true, but I heard a fun fact that every minute up to 24 hours of content is uploaded to YouTube. So we can't watch it all, no matter how hard we try. And there's this like thing that I've heard of, like, what was it? Content stipation? Where it's just you bookmark your favorite, you click so many things, but you never get to it because there's only so many hours in the day. So the ability to like get those key takeaways, especially like the highly academic or like very monotone, as Gemini pointed out, monotone videos, they're just hard to sit through sometimes. So yeah, having this I think is a very valuable asset.
Yeah, and this kind of all stemmed from the fact that my watch later playlist on YouTube is easily 500 videos now, and I've watched. I wish I also removed it from watch later once you watch it. I don't know why it doesn't, but I've only watched probably 50 of the 500 on there. I'll never get to it all, and so like being able to just keep saving videos and just keep kind of like bookmarking tweets of sorts, like, ooh, that's a video. I want the key information out of this. But I also think some of the world's most useful and interesting information is on YouTube because people have to put a lot of effort into creating scripts for YouTube and they try to make things entertaining. So I just feel like there's a lot of valuable information that we'll never get to on YouTube. And that's kind of where the whole inspiration from this came from.
Love it. And I think your idea of having the email service is phenomenal. Like, that's something I would pay for. I get these AI newsletters. They cover a wide range of topics, so there's some things I'm not really interested in. But if I could just say, this is my focus this week, I want to learn about everything about it for, the first 20 minutes of my day, just wake up and read a well-summarized just documentation around the latest and greatest, that would be super cool. That would save me a lot of time.
Imagine you could reply to the email, too, and be like, actually, I didn't really like the vibe of this. Can you make the next one a little bit more concise and a little bit more useful? And you could feed that right into all my DSPy prompts, right? So it's just going to make a more specific prompt for the query that you passed in. So you could actually reply to the email and have it change for tomorrow. Wild. Or even just have it run again if you wanted to. Yeah, it'd be super cool. I love this idea. We're already all using emails. We all have email newsletters. So why not make your own that's only for you and for the information that you're interested in? All right, Mike. Well, what did you learn this week, or what do you want us to know about?
So there's this group, this organization called the Human Feedback Foundation. I had the pleasure of talking to Elena, the founder of it, and I think they're on a mission that more people should know about. I think they're just grossly underknown, considering the importance of the work they're doing. As you're probably aware, a lot of the discourse around AI has very much polarized into two camps, the accelerationists and the doomers. And we all know when something gets hyper-polarized like that, the truth is in the middle. So what Human Feedback Foundation is trying to do is ensure that as we progress with AI, it's all human-centric, that we're allowing humans to give feedback to the development of AI. And this goes beyond just, setting policy and advocating for certain progress, but it's actually building the tools. So what Human Feedback Foundation does on top of advocacy is actually supporting open source projects. So they're on a mission to build human feedback into open source AI projects. So this involves collecting and aggregating open source data sets. So if you're building an open source project and you want to train on a data set, instead of getting a AI generated synthetic data, and don't get me wrong, I'm bullish on synthetic data, but we also have to be aware of the risk of photocopying a photocopy and the risk of data degradation over time. Even if you use a stronger model to generate synthetic data, it's still AI generated, and we know AI loves to generate slop. So by having human feedback create these data sets, we make sure that the trajectory of AI is on the path we want it to be, and we're early enough that we can still steer this. A lot of people feel that like the current state of AI, like we have to pause it now, we have to stop it now, or else it's too late. And we are so far off from AGI. If you are deep in this industry and seeing the developments as fast as it's moving, and it's moving fast, we're still many steps away from getting to the point of no return. So supporting organizations like this, where you're actually contributing to data that will help enable more AI projects be human-centric and actually take into account the needs of humans and make sure that like AI serves humans, this is an organization I think we should support. So they are a globally distributed team. If you want to get involved, you can reach out by email to Elena. If you're actually looking for policy governance, eyepiece partnerships, Jake is a great person to reach out to. And they're looking across the spectrum for different things to do. So you can become a founding member, community partner, technical partner, wherever your strength lies. Engaging with this organization is really going to help the entire open source ecosystem thrive. They're an affiliate nonprofit member of Linux Foundation, so you know that they're legit. And I just hope that more people are aware of this, because they do things like paper clubs where you'll actually get together with the authors of research papers to discuss them and see like the implications of it, usually centered around human feedback. They're involved with AI Tinkerers, the Toronto chapter. So any of my fellow Ontarians, if you want to head to AI Tinkerers, they're heavily involved in that. And it's just one of those things where they are not politically picking a camp. They're just wanting to ensure that no matter what happens with AI, humans are involved and humans are giving feedback to its development. So please check them out. Very good organization, like what they're doing, and happy to promote them.
Oh, that's awesome. I mean, you touched on a lot of different points there. What do you think is the most like important point of what they're trying to do, or what they're trying to have?
So I think it's a combination of the data aggregation and the supporting of open source projects. So they've recently worked with University of Toronto to develop 3 different open source projects. I don't know the current state of it, haven't followed up on that, but they're putting their money where their mouth is and actually allowing people to build this open source tooling to benefit everyone. And then with the data set aggregation, and they're working across the spectrum for different types of data. They are allowing people to train their models, fine-tune their models to ensure that humans are involved in that process. So data, open source projects, love what they're doing there.
That's awesome. I love that metaphor of photocopying a photocopy. That's fantastic. The other cool thing too about like human feedback and not just training on synthetic data is, if you're just training on synthetic data, and if we just keep training models on synthetic data, I know there's human feedback to some degree, but if models were only trained on synthetic data, it'll never get like real new data. It's only going to work on the data from in the past. Like if we include humans into this, we include human content and human conversations and human information, it actually kind of captures like the zeitgeist of the time, right? It's going to have better references to, you know, pop culture and references to things that are actually going on and new studies and all that type of stuff. That gets lost if you're only doing synthetic data from synthetic data that was trained on synthetic data that was trained on synthetic data that rolls all the way back to a couple years ago, right? So having new high quality human data seems like a really important step for high quality AI models.
Yeah, and there's always the risk with the distribution of quality of data, where if you look at the internet is so full of trash that if the foundation models, the largest ones, are trained on the aggregate of the internet, who's to say that like the average, like the baseline is not worse than the average human, because the internet's just full of such bad stuff out there. That synthetic data might actually be like decreasing in quality because it's just like averaging, with the average being slightly skewed to worse. But having a active, concerted effort to developing a strong human-generated data set might actually nudge it the other way. So even things like, I know people train on research papers, train on code. There's a lot of logic that's embedded in there that I think adds a lot of value. So I'm interested to see what they do. I'm interested to see the aggregations they put together. But yeah, it feels like one of those things just to balance the tidal wave of synthetic data that's going to be coming with actually human generated stuff to make sure we steer AI in the right direction.
Well, that's awesome. We definitely need more people doing this type of stuff.
All right, Ty, what do you think? What did people miss that you want to catch up on?
So I stumbled across this tweet from Greg Eisenberg. He has great stuff about startups and whatever else, but I thought this was really interesting. So there's a new study that came out from, I think, Western Washington University. Shout out Washington State. But they basically had this whole study about using the term AI in product descriptions reduces purchase intent, which I think is fascinating because pretty much every company out there right now on the internet is trying to fit in some AI chatbot, and they say use our AI features, use my little sparkles and magic wand button to do something cool on our website. And I think people are getting tired of it, and I think this is the first indication to me of actual scientific data, if it can be called that, because it's a study, that people are tired of AI terminology. People don't want to have to keep seeing AI lingo all over the place in their marketing. They want to just have their problem solved in ways that are transparent and easy to use, right? So I think the point of bringing this up in a podcast that kind of tries to convince people to use AI tools in their daily life is, if you're a builder in AI right now, don't put the word AI in the hero text of your website. I don't think people want to see it anymore. I think that consumers want to use products that solve their problems faster than they could solve their problem, or in a way that they can't, and just make it feel like magic. Bring moments of magic in across the application or the web app, and use AI. For sure, use AI. I mean, that's where these things are headed, but you don't have to throw it in their faces or add it behind AI tools in beta. Like, just make it feel like any other app, but behind the scenes, AI is being used. So I think that this is only going to get more prevalent. AI was already a very polarizing topic, and I think it's only going to get more polarizing. And so it's going to get more polarizing, but AI is going to keep getting more useful. So it's kind of a weird balance here, right? So definitely use AI if you're shipping new startups. That's where I kind of disagree with Greg here. Like, he's saying AI free startups during the AI gold rush and they're going to print. Sure, but I think that instead, use AI, but don't make it feel like AI is kind of the message I would go for here. So that's why I think this is important enough for those that build in the AI space right now that they should know about. And I hope they didn't miss this week.
Yeah, man, I think this is a great thing to bring up. It's with all of the narrative around the dangers of AI, people are naturally going to be turned off to it. And I feel like it's been best practice for a while that you don't sell features, you sell benefits. So by taking AI out of your marketing material and just saying automation or things along that line, where it's just a natural improvement, doing something in seconds, I think that's much better, much more approachable way of selling a product. But I'm glad they did a study on it. I'm curious, did it mention anything about the investor side of it? Is it just consumers that are tired of AI, or are investors starting to shy away from it as well?
This particular study only talked about product descriptions and using AI in there, and then purchase intent. So props to them for making a single study that does one single thing to prove their point. But I think there's no real data I have behind this, but I feel like investors, and myself included, feel like AI is the future. I think there's so much potential and so much more we can do with AI that we haven't yet. So I think investors are going to keep investing in AI. I think it's going to be their primary focus. I even know of a VC that's only investing in AI now. They've completely pivoted and won't invest in anything that's not AI. So I think investors are not going to change away from AI anytime soon. That being said, I think if you're raising right now, if you want to raise a round from investors or from VCs, referencing something like this so that you can kind of explain to your potential investor that you understand that consumers are tired of AI, and that, your website's not going to read like AI powered website editor. Instead of doing that, it's going to say something like websites at the speed of thought. And that's still uses AI behind the scenes, but it's not just like up in your face about AI. I think this gives you a little bit of a leg up, I think, in talking about how you would sell this to consumers. And you can still use AI, and you absolutely should. And if your whole pitch deck is about AI, have the pitch deck be all about the actual useful parts of AI and the whole tech stack you're using, whatever else. But when it goes to your go-to-market, you can explain, like, people are tired of AI, and I think we want to make an app that just makes things feel like magic and doesn't get all up in people's face about AI. So I think it gives you a little bit of a leg up on other people that are just using AI for everything in their marketing right now.
Keeping the pitch deck, taking out of the marketing material. Makes a lot of sense. Ty, this has been great. Really enjoyed it. Love the demos. Love the updates. What's the plan for next week?
Well, next time we'll have our first ever guest on the podcast, and so we'll have a great conversation with them, and we'll get to see what they've been working on, and I think you'll like who we'll bring on.
Oh, I'm excited. Can't wait for it.
That'll be good. Well, good stuff, man. It's been a great conversation. I guess we'll talk again next week.
Absolutely, man. I'll talk to you then.
See ya.
See ya.